following program is brought to you by Cloudcast Media, a podcast leader in developing shows to elevate local brands, local stories, and local storytellers. Cloudcast, bringing ears and minds home.
The San Diego Union Tribune and Retirement Strategies Group present the Union Tribune Community Spotlight Show with your host, Drew Schlossberg.
I'm Drew Schlossberg of the San Diego Union Tribune, and we are so pleased to have on a frequent guest, usually on our Prep Sports Show, but he's going to come on our Community Spotlight Show, and that is Jerry Schniepp. He is the commissioner of the CIF-San Diego Section. Jerry, always good to chat with you.
Great talking to you, Drew. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, you kidding me? Thanks for coming on and pinch hitting. We really can't thank you enough. And if the name sounds familiar, Jerry has been just a wonderful commissioner of the CIF-San Diego Section. And he has announced his retirement effective after the 2019-2020 school year. And so, Jerry, I mean, listen, I got to tell you something. We've always enjoyed having you on our Union Tribune Prep Sports Show, and I know you've done just unbelievable things for the entire prep sports community, which is pretty big here in San Diego. So, congratulations on a great career.
Thank you, Drew. It's been something that I've really enjoyed, and honestly, people like you make it so easy to do my job, and I want to thank you. It's been a great run, and I think when it's time, it's time.
No, I got you, and I was when Jess Kearney and Steve Brand, who co-host the show with me on Tuesdays, the Prep Sports Show, had mentioned this. I'm going, I can't believe it. He just started, for God's sake. And of course, it's sort of in some ways it seems that way to you. I imagine in some ways you probably seem you've been there for decades. Correct?
You're 100% right. It's gone so fast, But then the day-to-day stuff, you feel like, man, how long have we been talking about that topic, and how come we can't fix it? So you're 100% right.
Right, exactly. And in addition, the assistant commissioner, John Labetta, he's also going to retire.
He is. John is, longtime athletic director at a couple different places, and been the assistant commissioner now as long as I have. And we thought it was fitting that we both go out at the same time. One of the strengths of what John and I have done is that we came in at the same time and were able to find our footing together and develop our philosophies together. And I think that's a real positive for a new commissioner, that even though it's a little tougher because you maybe don't have a little bit of the institutional knowledge that you may have if one of us were staying, but you also get to start fresh and develop your philosophy together, and I think that's a real positive.
Yeah, without question. And, of course, those are very, very big shoes to fill with both of you. Has the process started to find your replacements? It
has. My job was posted about a month ago, and it closed just last week. I know paper screening was done yesterday here in the office, and I think they have narrowed down the candidates that applied to ones that they want to interview. So we're getting close. They plan to interview in early February and hopefully have a commissioner in place by mid to late February, or I shouldn't say in place, a commissioner selected. And then that new commissioner will be part of the process for hiring an assistant commissioner, which they should be. And then we'll also get to spend a few months with those people, where they can be involved in certain aspects of what we do and really learn the job before they take over.
No, it's actually the perfect way of doing that, and so well thought out with the Board of Commissioners and all that business. We're chatting with Jerry Schniepp. He is the commissioner of the CIF-San Diego Section after a terrific career in education, 35 years for that matter, not just in athletics, former principal and a teacher and so forth, and baseball coach at Helix and all the wonderful things with that comes with it. So, just for our very, very few listeners that don't quite understand what the CIF-San Diego Section is all about, maybe you can give a little bit of a quick nickel tour of that mission.
Sure. We are the governing body of high school athletics in San Diego and Imperial counties. There are 10 sections in the state of California, and the San Diego section is one of those 10. We have 128 schools that we oversee, and so we determine eligibility processes and transfers of athletes. We host all the championship events and seed teams for those playoffs, and then do a lot of training as well for athletic directors and administrators on what the foundation of education-based athletics are about. And so it has a lot of different arms to it, but essentially we're the governing body of high school athletics and oversee all that.
Right, exactly. And what's interesting that when you think about this, there's been a CIF-San Diego section for how many years?
It's now been 58 years.
Right, and so 58. Exactly, so 58 years, and there's only been 5 of you. And I remember, I'm going to date myself now, Jerry, so don't laugh. But when I was covering sports for the Encinitas Coast-Dispatch a zillion years ago, and I'll tell you, you'll figure out how long ago that was, Kendall Webb was the commissioner.
Okay. Kendall, great man, and you're right. There has only been 5 of us, starting with Don Clarkson, and then Kendall and Jan and Dennis Ackerman. And then, yeah, we tend to do it a while, and I think that's the strength of the section too.
Well, I and anybody who knows anything about high school sports has known just how important that is in the daily lives of certainly the students, the parents, the community, and the faculty. Because a lot of people can relate to that, of course. A lot fewer than can do in the college sports, at least from a participant aspect of it, and very, very few from a participant from the pro sports and all that business. But everyone can sort of relate, whether they were an athlete or they were on the cheer squad or they were heavily involved of their prep sports days, and they talk about it fondly. And so that puts a lot of importance on what you folks do to do it right. And I know you know that. I'm not trying to patronize you, but a lot of responsibility that comes with that, Jerry.
Yeah, well, you're right, Drew. There is, and it's interesting because I think kids, student athletes, when you hear CIF, all you think of is playoffs. They really have no idea what we do. But there does need to be a governing body because you want fairness. You want a level playing field. You want to know that the restrictions for grades and where kids live and all those things are the same at my school as they are, 10 miles away for a different school. But it's interesting. I have a quick story, Drew. When I first started, I gave a presentation on NCAA requirements to a group of counselors. And one of my friends was in that meeting and was laughing afterwards because he said that the counselor sitting next to him about halfway through kind of tapped him on the shoulder and said, "Hey, I thought all this guy did was order the balls." And so people don't understand what we do, but there is a lot of responsibility and there's a lot of tasks that need to be completed, but it's a really rewarding position too.
Well, and on top of it is that you have to make, and again, no one knows that better than you, and of course Dennis and Jan and Kendall and Don, and of course your assistant commissioners, some very, very, very difficult decisions that are going to have the impact on that student athlete's life and that school's life as well.
You're right, and there are times where we have to tell someone that they don't get to play. As much as we dislike that, we have to be consistent with how we apply our rules. There are times we have to tell a team that has competed all season that because of something that happened, use of an ineligible player, something like that, that you don't get to participate in the playoffs. And that's a tough pill to swallow. And it's understandable that people get emotional about that. But it's our responsibility to be consistent and apply our rules fairly across the board, and we do our very best to ensure that.
Yeah, we got about a minute and a half before we go to break. But I think what is so critical as well is you want to make sure that those experiences that the student athletes have and the parents and the coaches and the faculty and the whole community are so positive in that aspect of it, and consistency is a key on that. In a minute here, talk about, and then we'll continue when we come from break. What are one of the more difficult things you have to do? Obviously, telling a player that he or she can't compete. What other things do you have to do in this minute? And then we'll continue when we come back from break.
Yeah, I'd say some of the negative things that we deal with, too. Obviously, ejections are a very negative side of any competition. And so we instituted a new ejection policy where any athlete who gets an ejection for what we call gross unsportsmanlike conduct gets multiple games of suspension, and they have to come in with their parent and meet with either John LeBeater or myself. And we think that's been really effective, but it's not a real positive interaction. But we think it's the right one because it's consistent, and everybody knows what the rules are along the line of ejections.
Right.
And then, eligibility and all those things, they're not fun, but they need to be done.
Right. And then when we come back, I want to talk a little bit more about how, what happens on the playing fields at the pro level and college level have an impact on certainly what happens down at the prep sports level when we return with Jerry Schniepp. He is the retiring commissioner of the CIF-San Diego Section. I'm Drew Schlossberg, and you're listening to the Community Spotlight Show here on Cloudcast Media Radio. We're brought to you by Retirement Strategies Group, where retirement made simple, folks.
Cloudcast 180. Powerful people, powerful stories, 180 seconds.
Welcome to Cloudcast 180. We're here today with the president and CEO of Father Joe's Villages. Welcome to Deacon Jim Vargas.
Thank you, Charles. Good to be with you.
We have 3 minutes. Let's hit it fast and furiously. We're going to talk this morning with you about San Diego being a very expensive city, which creates a housing crisis, which is exacerbating the homeless crisis in San Diego. Let's talk about your leadership on this issue.
Sure, absolutely. We do have an affordable housing crisis here in San Diego. In fact, if you ask about the number one issue why people fall into homelessness, it's lack of affordability. And so they fall onto the streets, especially when rents go up, and rents are very expensive here. So we at Father Joe's Villages focus tremendously on housing. In fact, about 40% of our intervention is placing individuals into permanent and affordable housing. All right, so shows you the extent of what we do. And of course, there's services that go along with this, because in order for people to retain their housing, their dwellings, they have to have the services that they're necessary, whether it's mental health services or substance use disorder services, whatever that is. We have a Turning the Key initiative, whereby we'll be introducing 2,000 affordable housing units into the community during the next number of years. In fact, we just closed on a deal to purchase and refurbish a motel in the South Bay area. It's going to add 83 permanent supportive housing units. Next week, we'll be closing financially on a groundbreaking that will have 14-story building, 407 units of housing as well, taking about 550 people off the street. So housing is extremely important.
Which means you're investing a lot of capital. How are you finding that capital to solve the housing crisis in San Diego for homeless folks? 90 to 95%
of our funding is public funding. Various sources, whether it be from the state, it be local, county, city, municipality. So most of it is public funding. There's tax credits that are involved there. The capital stack is quite large, actually.
So you're finding the land, you're finding the capital, you're changing lives. How are you minimizing the risk of future homelessness for these clients of yours? We're minimizing it through our services.
We need to make sure that in order for them to retain the housing, that they receive the services that they need, that are holistic and are comprehensive to their specific needs.
That's fantastic. Deacon Jim, in the last 10 years, your organization has taken 11,000 folks from homelessness to a home. So I congratulate you. Any closing thoughts for our audience?
No, that's what it's all about. And, I mentioned public funding, but at the end of the day, the bulk of our funding is philanthropic. And so I would encourage your listeners to look at an organization like Father Joe's Villages, who is effective in what it's doing, that helps those not only who are on the streets, but the community at large.
Cloudcast 180. Powerful people, Powerful Stories, 180 Seconds.